So we had a look at our first index, and this index actually sped up our query. It sped up our query for people older than 60. Now something interesting happens if we do run the same query for people older than 20. If I do run this query, it's still super fast, but what we see is that we essentially seem to have no person in our dataset that is younger than 20. We'll have to go through the entire index, every single element matches our query, and then we fetch the documents for that. And you see that the execution time for this is higher than it was for people older than 60. Now something interesting happens if we get rid of that index, which we can do by reaching out to our database, to our collection, and then running drop index. And now here we specify the exact same document we used for creating it, so DOBH, and then 1. And now you see that index was removed. And now let's run the same query again, or explain it, now that we have no index. What you'll see is that this now actually is faster. We get an execution time of 6 milliseconds. Now, the reason why this is faster is that we save the step of going through the index. If you have a query that will return a large portion or the majority of your documents, an index can actually be slower because you then just have an extra step to go through your almost entire index list, and then you have to go to the collection and get all these documents. So you then just have an extra step. Because if you do a full collection scan, it can be faster, and it certainly is if you return all elements, but even for the majority it would often be faster, because with a full collection scan, you already have all the documents in memory. And then an index doesn't offer you anymore because that just is an extra step. Instead, here we got all the documents in memory. We would have needed to go to the documents anyways to fetch them from the pointers the index gives us. So now we already have them, and since we need most of them, this is now faster. So if you have queries that regularly return the majority or all of your documents, an index will not really help you there. It might even slow down the execution. And that is important to keep in mind as a first restriction that you need to know when planning your queries. If you have a dataset where your queries typically only return fractions, like 10 or 20% or lower than that of the documents, then indexes will almost certainly always speed it up. If you get a lot of queries that give you back all the documents or close to all the documents, indexes can't do that much work for you. And logically, that makes sense, because the idea of an index is to quickly let you get to a narrow subset of your document list and not to the majority of that.